What's happening? This is episode 10. Can't believe it. 10. We are here with Jake from New York City Hammers.
How's everyone doing? All good?
Awesome, man. And we're here with Lee as always. And Lee's got a couple public service announcements to mention before we get started.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Tim. Before we get started, a couple of quick things. NBC Sports is coming to Boston on March 30th, March 30th. The Premier League morning show is going to be in Boston outside of Fenway, and we're going. Him and I are going. I'm bringing my whole family. Well, not my mom. I'm bringing my wife and my kids. I'm bringing 2 nephews, maybe even some nieces. We'll see. We're going to have a couple of the other Boston Hammers there, and we're going to try to get some video there, maybe do some live shots. It's certainly things that we can post later on. So be on the lookout for that. And if you're in the Boston area, anywhere near the Boston area, come down on March 30th. It starts at 6:30 in the morning. We're not going to be there that early. Our game's at 1:30 in the afternoon, so I anticipate getting there much later in the day. But give us a shout. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can send an email to AmericanHammersTV@gmail.com. Let us know if you're coming. We'll meet you there. We'll be all kitted out. We'll have, we'll be ready to go. So that's March 30th. Also, my understanding is that a lot of you have been sending videos to us, which is great. We just ask that you send videos of why you love West Ham, what your match day traditions are. We haven't had a chance to get any goal celebrations yet since we started doing this, because we just asked last week. But anything you have from match day you want to send is great. My understanding is we're getting those rolling in, which is fantastic. Now all we have to do is figure out how to post them. We're not super high tech guys, but we appreciate what you've sent so far. We'd love to get more, so please keep them coming in. And I believe we're still going to also try on April 8th to be at the Chelsea match at the Banshee in Boston. Again, if you're in the Boston area, come down and see us. We're going to try to do some stuff from there. So, but meanwhile, we got the Godfather. We got the original, and probably still the biggest West Ham supporters group in the U.S. Jake from New York City Hammers with us. Jake, thank you so much for being here.
No, thanks for having me. A little last minute, but we made it in the end.
It doesn't matter as long as you get here. Yeah,
that's fine. No worries.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, real quick, we were originally scheduled to have Sean on here from New York City Hammers, and Jake graciously stepped up because Sean had a work engagement that came up and he couldn't make it, but he will come back sometime in the future to chat with us. But we're grateful to have Jake step in, and
thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
It's the city that never sleeps. In the city that never sleeps, you work at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night.
You work whenever it comes to you. So
right, well, because listen, I lived in New York for about a year after college, and it was expensive. I mean, I loved it, but it was a killer. So
yes, it can be sometimes. It definitely wears you out, but.
So tell us, Jake. Tell us how you got into West Ham, and then how you got into building this, big supporters group.
Yeah, so I'm from the Cincinnati area, around Kentucky. So separated by a river. I'm on the south side of Kentucky. That's where I first got into it, about 2005. I was working at a summer camp that YMCA put on, and they had a lot of foreigners that would come over and work for the summers, and one of them happened to be a guy from East London, Graham Mills, who got me into him then, and then kind of snowballed slowly until here we are now. But while I was in Cincinnati, I started up the Cincinnati Hammers about 2007. I did that with a few fellow guys at a bar called My Malone's in Covington, Kentucky, again just across the river. And then for about 10 years or so, not quite. I was there, and then lived in LA for a few years. And then there wasn't a group out there at the time. It was just me kind of lazily watching on my computer and whatnot. And I think one of the years I was out there, we were relegated, so it was really hard to find even streams.
Yep.
Radio feed was lucky, maybe.
Yep.
And then also with the time difference, I was waking up at 4 in the morning. It was a little tough out there. But I moved to New York, and then got hooked up with these guys immediately. I had always wanted to be around the New York City Hammers. Definitely the biggest, I would say. I think that's a fair thing to say. But best group of guys. It's all good up here.
Yeah, that's what we hear. We hear that There's always a massive turnout. The Smithfield Hall is amazing, especially to watch a match.
It's
the
a
atmosphere.
and they have everything. I mean, one of the downsides, I guess, and it's not really a downside when you think about it, but we share the bar with Man United. So there's a little bit of, not tension necessarily, but, you know, just there's a lot of them. There's probably more of them than there are of us. So sharing it isn't always the funnest thing to do. But when we play each other, it's a really great atmosphere, and it's kind of the closest you can get to being at the game, I would say.
Yeah.
And it went pretty well last time we played Man United. So.
Yes, we enjoyed that very much so.
Yeah, that was good. Hopefully, maybe we do that again, although
yeah,
probably not given our away form. But
given our away form and their recent form, it's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be very tough. Yeah, I agree. So tell us, so Smithfield Hall, now anybody who follows any of the American West Ham social media accounts has seen this place, seen your big group on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Where is it exactly in New York?
So it's on 25th Street, Midtown.
Yep.
Easily accessible from all modes of public transport from the city.
25th and what's the
25th and was that 7th and 8th, I believe, between 7th.
Okay. Yeah.
Or 6th and 7th. Yeah.
Okay.
Right there on the west side, Midtown.
A German place down there called Rolf's. Is it still around? Have you heard of it?
Rolf's? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if it's a German place and I've been to it, I probably didn't walk out remembering.
Yeah. You might not remember it. That's okay if you don't. Yeah.
That kind of means it's one of the good spots.
Exactly. So Smithfield Hall, and so you have it with Manchester United. Now, what's your setup? Are you do you have your own area of the pub where you can sort of like get sound for the match and cheer and
in a way, that's kind of where the downside of it all comes into play. Is that if Man United's playing the same time West Ham is, they tend to get the bigger space, which I mean, only fair. But it's a really long bar. There's two sides to it, so sometimes we sit on one side, sometimes it's the other side, sometimes you're in the back, sometimes you're in the front. There's no real home section necessarily.
Right.
You kind of get moved around depending on what's going on. Barcelona, their supporters group is there as well, and there's a lot of them. There's probably more of them than there are United.
Yeah.
So if all three are playing, then we kind of get the redheaded stepchild of the group. So
that's the West Ham way.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to it at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's just how it goes. But you guys pull from your pictures. Looks like you get 40, 50 people every game. Does that sound about right?
I think that's fair to say we get that on an average basis. And then, we can get upwards of over 100 sometimes too. Depends on how many people are visiting from out of town. That plays a big effect into the numbers. But that's also the fun thing is we get visitors in every week, new ones every week. And you get to talk to them and hear their stories and different takes on everything. People who have been going since they were a kid, people who just started going. It's a really fun place to kind of meet people and talk. It's a big community.
Now, have you gone over there?
I have, yes. I've gone over quite a few times. I think I've seen 5 games Upton Park, and then I think maybe 4 or 5 at the Olympic Stadium now. I try to go twice a year, hopefully 3-4 times a year. But
you guys go in groups, or do you go with anybody else, or you go by yourself?
Try to organize a group. The past few years, we've done a trip where 4 or 5 of us go. Always the more the merrier. I think next year we're really going to try and do something where we get 10 to 15 people going. Overflow game.
You can do a comparison for us because Tim's been to the Olympic Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Berlin years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, just once. But I have not been to the Olympic Stadium. So you've been to both. You've had plenty of experience with both. So give us an idea for how they compare. Obviously, we hear so many negative things about the Olympic Stadium. But what's your take on the two?
Well, I think it's really tough because you're never going to get Upton Park again, and it did have that romantic allure. It had everything you wanted in a stadium, especially for someone coming from where that type of stadium, that type of atmosphere isn't common. It instantly kind of catches you. And going to the Olympic Stadium now, it's not the same. It's not the same as going to Upton Park, but it still has its upsides. And I've seen some good games at the Olympic Stadium. I saw us beat Tottenham 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
I was just there for Liverpool when we drew them 1-1.
Nice.
And then you see things like the videos from the Billy Bonds tribute, the first day at the stadium, and then that game where we beat Tottenham. The atmosphere was just like it would be at Upton Park. I think, by no means was Upton Park always a fortress. There was definitely games where it was quiet there too. We're playing shit football. So,
well, that's the thing, is I think a lot of people have a little bit of selective memory, to be fair. And, as somebody who didn't grow up over there, I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah.
People have very emotional experiences connected to Upton Park, which I understand.
Yeah.
But I mean, the cold fact is, you can look back in our history, in the club's history, you can see that there were games we played there we lost in front of like 15,000 people. I mean, it did happen.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't always sort of 35,000,
Yeah.
insane West Ham supporters. I mean, there were bad times too.
Yeah, I think the thing that is, from what I've gathered, that's the most heartbreaking isn't necessarily the ground itself, although that does play a key to it. But it's the whole ritual, and it's changed for everybody that goes week in, week out. Now they don't go to the same pub anymore, and if you go to the Olympic Stadium, it's hard to find a pub around the ground. There's a few, but it's not like it used to be. You get off the train, you're at a shopping mall. You have to walk quite a way to get to the stadium, and then when you're there, it doesn't have that same allure of like the small streets, houses being right next door. And that's one of the things that kind of caught me, and what I really enjoyed about Upton Park.
The closest thing would be the Carpenter's Arms. There's little houses around that street or the street nearby, and you can still see the stadium from a distance. But but that's just for a minute. I mean, as soon as you start walking away from the Carpenter's Arms, it's, what the hell is this? I mean, you see construction and whatever. It's the atmosphere is gone in a minute. But I mean, as long as you're walking with a group of people from the match, the pre-match, and walking over there, it's not cool. Yeah,
exactly. It's unfair to say that there's not bars around the ground, or that there is no atmosphere, because there is. It's just different, and I think that's what people kind of struggle with.
It's not connected enough like it would be. In Upton Park, I mean, it was just bang, 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 and now it's all bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience for people. So I think that.
But the atmosphere at the pubs themselves are phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's a big deal though, because as a football match lasts 2 hours, right? I mean, it's not like going to an American football game that drags on all afternoon. It's 2 hours, so a big part of the experience is going to be the drinking beforehand and after, after the match. And I mean, again, the only time I ever went to the Bull Inn, we went and we drank at the Bull Inn pub. It was great. It was a weeknight in February. It was snowing. It was fantastic atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, it's a big part of what my memory of it is the before and the after.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood, we had sort of like spicy fried chicken. When I went to the pub, it's a whole experience, and not just the 2 hours you spend at the game. So hopefully that area will develop or build up, or there'll be some, it'll be a little less kind of plastic from what it sounds like now, and it'll develop some authenticity in the years to come.
Yeah, I think just like the football itself, it's going to take time to develop. The stadium itself is going to take time to develop. The area around it will take time. But I think if you're patient, then it'll get there. And then, and a large part of it, I think, falls on the shoulders of the supporters. I don't think it's fair for supporters to sit back and complain and then not try to create an atmosphere. I think that makes a big difference.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's up to people who are in the stadium to make the atmosphere. So I want to ask you, go back for a second to your group there in New York. So are you guys doing a lot of sort of active recruiting on social media? I mean, are you pulling new people in, or are you?
I mean, we don't do too much outside of the normal realms of running Instagram, or Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. We just recently launched a new website to kind of nothing more than just to have a place to go. If you search in Google and you're not on Facebook or whatever, search on Google NYC Hammers, it should come up. There's nearly 3,000 pictures of us all in there, and it just kind of goes in a gallery. Hopefully one day we'll have a shop on there, because we do get a lot of people wanting T-shirts and all that.
Yeah,
that's a little more long term, just to kind of get all that set up. That's a big job. But yeah, apart from active recruiting, not necessarily, but if there's ever new people at the pub, we try to always go out of our way and invite them into the group.
In New York City, the Hammers are kind of like they're a legend of a group.
Yeah, definitely a family in a way. I was here 3 years ago. I kind of moved here, and you know, it was the same thing. I was the new guy at the pub, and then one of the guys, James, kind of came over and he introduced me to everybody, and from there, then it just kind of.
Yeah, because I mean, what I mean is people come from all over, like you said. They come over from all over the world, and then they travel to. I mean, you guys don't really have to advertise a whole hell of a lot, other than where you're located, because people know you're there. I mean, if they're a West Ham fan, even overseas, I mean, they know New York City Hammers one way, shape, or form compared to anybody else, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we get people hitting up our Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm going to be in town, blah blah blah. Where do we meet up?" And then Smithfield Hall. Or if there isn't a game on and they're just saying, "Hey, it'd be nice to meet some of you, have a drink," and we try to do that. I've traveled around a lot in America, and every time I go somewhere and there's a game on, I try to go to the bar, watch it, and meet the local fan base. And no disrespect to any groups, but New York City has always been the most, I don't know, like a community-based one. It's definitely a community. Everyone there is looking out for each other. Yeah, it's a really good group of guys.
Yeah, I mean, people, when they talk about West Ham supporters groups, they use the word family a lot, and we've certainly heard Wayne talk about that in Dallas. A lot of the other guys we've had on here have said the same thing. So, I get the sense. I personally believe that as West Ham fans, we're probably closer than a lot of other fan bases are, because there maybe aren't quite as many of us, because we share the same, bizarre addiction to this roller coaster lifestyle that we have. It's not easy being West Ham compared to, say, supporting Manchester United or
Yeah, absolutely.
Or whatever. So I tend to feel as though we have a bond that not everybody else has. I don't know if you see that with your own West Ham crew there in New York compared to what you see from the Manchester United fans.
I mean,
tighter group.
Yeah, it's tough to compare the two. We don't like the Manchester United group too much, so we don't talk to them too much.
That's fair.
But it doesn't seem that way, and I haven't seen any group that has that sort of camaraderie that I think that we have. A really good friend of ours, Shakar, he never says you're a West Ham supporter, you're a West Ham sufferer, and it's kind of misery loves company. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it's true. Well, it's like this show has been like therapy for me in a way, because it's a chance to talk to other West Ham supporters about both the great things that are happening and the miserable things that are happening, and it's good to be able to sort of air that out, because we don't have a large group here in Boston, and Tim and I don't get to make a lot of live matches together for various reasons. So it's been a good outlet for us. So tell me about the atmosphere that you guys get going there. Is there a lot of singing? I mean, when it's appropriate to sing, is there?
Yeah, there's a lot of singing. We always try to sing. I will say during the Cardiff match there wasn't as much singing.
Right.
But that's the other thing, is that it's kind of goes hand in hand. Being a West Ham fan, we're losing 2-0, and then we sing we're going to win 3-2. It's just if we can't have fun winning, we'll have fun losing too.
And you guys have some natives, right? You got some East London natives.
Yeah, we have a good amount of expats that come and join us that live here now. Those guys are always fun to talk to. We got young ones, we have old ones, and to hear the different stories that they have to tell is always nice as well.
How far do people come to see the games? Is it all subway rides, or are they coming from like Jersey? Or
we definitely get people from Jersey. We get people from Long Island. There's people who come from northern New York. Takes a bus to get here. There's one guy, Ken. He takes a bus every day and then a train. I think it's like a 2-hour trip for him. I could be wrong on that, but I know he travels quite a way to come every game.
And that goes for weekday matches too? I mean, you guys...
Well, so weekday matches are usually a little bit less in numbers, people at work and whatever. It just depends. If it's a Friday game, then you're going to get a little more people down there who are leaving work, early. For the Fulham match recently, I called in sick to work so I could go to that. So I can't do that every day.
Isn't watching. I'm sure your boss doesn't watch American Hammers TV.
No. Yeah. And I think he knew anyway. He knows. He knows. But like Friday games, we get a lot of people. I think there is a weekday crew. I unfortunately can't go usually on the weekdays. but there is a group of people that are there every game. We definitely have some representation there.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I listen to the matches because I work every single Saturday.
Yeah.
And luckily I'm out on a truck though, so I listen to the game. I can't stream it on my phone that well, but so I actually tune in radio or West Ham. If you go to West Ham, West Ham's official website, they have a listen live, and their streams seem to be a lot better than like a tune in or anything else. But I do catch every single match. But man, I listen to it on the truck. It's just not the same, but it's kind of fun because you're trying to imagine everything that you see in there, and I'm yelling and screaming just the same.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was living in Los Angeles and I was trying to find a stream or whatever, and all I could find was a radio stream. And it's a different way to
or back when they were in championship. I mean, it was the same way. I remember that, and I have to find some stream from some country I never even heard of. To kind of scramble the game. Like I remember the playoff final that year. I got to stream that on my laptop, but we do what we got to do. But that was something else, man.
Yeah.
The playoff final, weirdly enough, like finishing third, maybe the best experience I've had as a West Ham supporter, other than being able to see a match live. As far as an actual victory, probably the biggest game of my years of watching West Ham. Kind of sad to say is the big third place trophy playoff final.
I think that's just fine, Yeah.
I
remember I watched that I was in Cincinnati at the time when we watched that one. And there was a festival that day, a street festival, and we went out drinking all day. And I got kicked out of bars because I was falling off the bar stools. But we're celebrating. We're back.
I remember I saw it with my buddy Ken. I've talked about Ken before. I watched it up in New Hampshire with him, and then the Champions League final was later that day. I didn't watch the Champions League final. I didn't care about it at all. No. It just didn't matter. I only watched the playoff final. Looked at that.
Yeah.
So you guys, you were the founder of the Cincinnati Hammers. Now, are there still people meeting at the pub?
I think there are still people meeting. I don't think it's as official in a way. There's a few people that meet at Molly Malone's in Covington. What I said before, that's where we started watching, and for that area, that's where it was the first bar that showed every game live. They would open early. And since then, there's now a few other bars that do that. And so I think you kind of get a few small groups here and there.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've been back home for a game.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to people there in New York about why they support West Ham and anybody else is talking? You said you knew a guy from London.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody who tells you various reasons why?
Yeah. A popular one, and I'm sure you guys have heard it from a lot of people, is they're listening to punk bands that supported West Ham or sang about West Ham, whatever it was. That's a big one. Apart from that, it's kind of tough. You get a mix of the people who started supporting them in the past 5 years, and then it's just kind of like that team that Village created. That was something to kind of believe in, underdog in a way. It's kind of a big mix up here. There's one guy, Ken again. I mentioned him. His family in Brooklyn were dock workers. I think they built ships in Brooklyn, and that's how he got into it. He researched the teams and then found out that, well, if I was in London, this is the team I would be following. So.
Yeah, I've always thought that we should have a lot of appeal among sort of blue-collar fans, and the whole notion of the blue-collar American is kind of dying, sadly. It's kind of a shrinking demographic. But I think a lot of people, if they knew the history of the club and if they knew about the supporters, if they knew sort of the background of a lot of the supporters, they could take on West Ham, as a club that's kind of not a wealthy, glorious club from a wealthy, glorious area. It's kind of a rough area of London. Supported by kind of, a little bit tougher, more sort of, grittier fans. And I think that would have a lot of appeal, to people if they knew about it.
Yeah.
So do you guys have, we've talked about this before. Tim and I are not big fans of MLS.
Nope.
Do you guys have any loyalties? Does anybody talk about MLS at all or American soccer?
Not really. there's a few people that go to NYCFC. There's a few people that go to Red Bulls, but there's not like a collective group. We've never gone as a group together.
Yeah.
This year, I've started kind of following FC Cincinnati. They were just put into the MLS, so I've kind of been paying a little more attention to it. They drew tonight to Atlanta, so that's all right.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's something that just takes a while for me to get into, and I wouldn't be into it if it wasn't a hometown team, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried a couple times to get into it, especially when they started adding more teams, and there was all this talk about you know, maybe eventually there'll be promotion relegation here in the States, but that's still not likely. But now it's too plasticky, too generic for me, you know. And then once, unfortunately, our home team is the New England Revolution. We've said this on previous shows that, you know, in a 65,000 plus stadium where there's only 10 to 14,000 fans a game, the atmosphere is it just sucks the life out of you. It makes you not ever want to go back. So that said, man, I mean, I'm sure it's different in Atlanta, it's different in LA, it's different in New York City even. But
I have been to an NYCFC game. And it was fine. There was no downside to it really. It's just it didn't capture me, I guess. I got to see them. I got to see them actually down in Florida do a friendly against Florida Gulf State University. Yeah, in Fort Myers, man, that was kind of cool. I went to see him because it was Pirlo's last year, I think, and it was in Lampard. So I was like, I'll go see, and there was cheap tickets. You know, ain't much to go see it. Why not?
I think the thing that bothers me most about MLS, not to get too far off on this, is that I don't like the way the MLS fans try to copy everything that fans of European football do or Premier League fans do. Yeah. I mean, they kind of take the songs from England and they change a couple of words, you know, and they make them American. That to me doesn't appeal to me at all. I mean, there's no authenticity. You know.
I think it's kind of tough. They have a struggle of just creating something fresh, and it's like a lot of things. It's going to take time for it to grow into its own thing. But I agree with you. It kind of gets a little old after a while.
It just makes it sound kind of ridiculous, and I think to be honest, I mean, I think it kind of hurts the credibility of American fans like us who really are in English football, who really do love a club like West Ham. We understand the traditions, we know the songs, we know the football, even though we're all relative newcomers. I mean, when you have, you know,
but we don't go over to England and bring a drum corps, you know.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, so it just feels so forced, and then English fans look at us and they say, "Oh, look at these American schmucks," you know, trying to make songs and traditions. And it's not fair to those of us who, you know, nobody. I'm not pretending I'm English, but we respect the traditions of the English game. We respect the traditions of English fans. Yeah, and that's not always reflected in MLS culture, which is so copycat.
And what do you think, Jake, about the English people that actually, the fans that come over here to New York City, and how they react to the American West Ham fans? Like, what do you think?
I've almost always had a positive reaction.
Exactly.
Almost everybody is like, why'd you pick West Ham or whatever? It's just they're almost shocked in a way, surprised but shocked at the same time. But they always get a kick out of it, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you follow West Ham. That's really cool.
I've never had anybody, a West Ham fan anyway, from England, actually, you know, take offense to it or anything like that.
I've only had one situation where it was kind of a nasty situation. It wasn't in America. I was lucky enough. I won tickets to the final game at Upton Park. We won tickets in the lottery, so we went to the Swansea game on the Saturday, and then we went to the United game on I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday.
That's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. It was great. The only time I've ever kind of felt uncomfortable was we were waiting to get into the stadium after the Man United coach bus situation happened, and there was a guy that heard my American accent, and he kind of was trying to call me out and find me, and then he started going on a rant saying like, "Oh, my brother couldn't get a ticket, and you shouldn't get a ticket. You're not from here." Like, and you know, I get what he's saying. If I had bought the ticket for crazy amount of money, or offered a bunch of money to somebody, then I get it. But I won it in the lottery. But I do see where he's coming from.
No, I do. I understand.
Yeah.
If you're a lifer, I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
I would feel a little bit guilty about that too. I used to be on the Knees Up Mother Brown message board. I'm not on there much anymore. It's a great message board. I have changed jobs and I actually have to do work.
Yeah, me as well. I used to read it all the time, but it's kind of one of those things I check every now and then. Or
Yeah, but I remember there were a couple of guys out there who were a little resentful of American fans, but most of them just loved us. Yeah. And I found the same thing on social media. If you're on the various West Ham Twitter accounts, West Ham Facebook pages, they love us, and they love. I think they love the fact that we have no connection to the club other than the fact that we just love it. I mean, most of us. I always say that I didn't choose West Ham. West Ham chose me. I kind of tried to run from it for a long time, but I couldn't get away.
Yeah,
nothing that ever mattered. So, I think that it's a shock to them that as Americans we would support a club that doesn't win trophies regularly, that doesn't play in Europe, at all, really.
And quite the opposite sometimes too.
Yeah, and that
get kicked out of the league.
Right, we were in relegation battles. We went, as you said, we went down some years ago. I remember that very well. Obviously, there's no guarantee that we're going to be a Premier League club season after season. Although I hope that's changing.
Yeah,
but I tend to find that they kind of respect us for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy enough to follow the club,
Yeah, I mean, we get people on holiday all the time. Every week we get somebody new. There's our families. There's one guy by himself who sent his wife shopping, and he said, "I'm going to go down to Smithfield." We get people all the time, and it's always a good, positive reaction. We get people that keep coming back, almost just to come to Smithfield. There's a group of really good friends of ours from all over London, West Ham, old school guys, and they come 4 times a year maybe here to watch with us. And we try to do the same and go back there and watch with them. They have a good time in the city, and it's
where do you guys go now when you go over there? Like what pubs do you guys go to now as you go over there to Olympic Stadium?
So usually if we were going to the Olympic Stadium, we'd probably depending on the situation, we'd probably meet at the Podium Bar, which is the one outside the that silly little red sculpture outside the stadium.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's a bar there, and then that's where we usually meet everybody before the game. But we've done the Carpenter's Arms. We've done there's one, the Queen's Head or something around.
Queen's Head. Oh yeah, I've been
around the corner. It does.
I like that place a lot actually, but I like that for post match.
Yeah, so we've kind of done it where we've walked around the old Stratford and then to the stadium, and we usually just go straight to the podium now. Get off the train, straight to the podium, have some drinks there, and then you're 5 minutes from your seat.
Yeah.
So you kind of, in all honesty, Jake, I think we kind of buried the lead with the fact that you were at the last game at the Berlin.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us what. I mean, obviously we know what happened in the match.
Mm-hmm.
Describe that atmosphere if you can.
It's a tough one to describe. It was unbelievable. It's one of those things that was like an overwhelming amount of community in a way. We were standing there right outside the World Cup Winners' Trophy, and just standing there around plenty of other people, singing songs, sharing stories. You'd go to the off license around the corner and grab a crate of beer, and then just hand them out. You didn't care. It was definitely a party. Yeah, all positive. There was no negative until the Man United coach drove through. But even then, everyone was.
Were you there for that when it came through?
Yeah. It wasn't that nasty. Obviously, it wasn't good, but it wasn't as horrible as the papers made it out to be.
Well, I suspect it never is. I think the papers. I mean, listen. I mean, call me. A lot of West Ham supporters say this. I think it's probably true. I think the papers are always out to get West Ham.
Yeah.
I think because West Ham have a reputation. We know that. We know the supporters have a reputation going back to the 70s and 80s. But I think they make a lot more of stuff than what's actually going on.
And also, I mean, I think Man United have a lot to blame in that too. Who drives the coach, through the stadium's last game, half hour before kickoff,
Somebody should have maybe rethought the logistics of that, right?
Absolutely. It doesn't make sense. What do you think is going to happen? You have, probably 10,000 people out there, been drinking for 4 hours.
It was a stunt, Unless it was a stunt on their end.
Yeah. No, but it was a great atmosphere. I mean, during the game, you know, we thought it was over. We thought, no, we're screwed here. It was 2-1 down, I think we were.
Yeah.
And then scored those 2 goals. But the game before, the Swansea game, we lost 4-1, and I remember sitting there, and that was a really kind of heavy game because everyone thought, oh, if this is how we're playing against Swansea, then when we play Man United in 3 days' time, it's going to be even worse. But yeah, luckily it wasn't.
I know. So the Tottenham game you saw that was the 1-0. Was that season as well?
No, that was the next season. That was the first season at the Olympic Stadium towards the end of the year.
Yep. Okay, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the first season there.
Because the last season of the Boleyn was the season Leicester won the Premier League, and that was when Tottenham came into the Boleyn and they could have gone top, but we beat them 1-0.
Yeah.
And they never got back. They never got, you know.
Yeah.
Never made it
we
back.
Lost the league at Upton Park. No, I remember singing that. Yeah, we were still singing that at the last game at Upton Park. We lost the league at Upton Park, but
that might be my second favorite West Ham match in the time I've been following the club.
Yeah.
Tottenham with the Boleyn that night. Also the last night too was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was special. I mean, it was a great game, classic game. Being there, and then it's my number one for sure. Did you
meet? I mean, there were all sorts of legends there that night. Did you get to meet those guys?
Yeah, actually, you bring it up. We were I was in the what was it? The Al Party Upper at the time. So we were sitting up there, and I looked over, and there's Billy Bonds sitting maybe a section over, and then I kind of hitched my way over there, climbing over the railings, and asked him for an autograph. I had an American Hammers scarf that I had made up. I said, "Mr. Bonds, will you sign this for me?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Hold it tight, son." And then he just kind of shot the shit with me for a minute, and then he said, "Enjoy the game."
So did you start up that group, American Hammers?
I started the page online. Yeah.
Okay, the page. All right.
Yeah, I started the page online. I'm not sure what year that was. Maybe 2011, 2010, something like that. Just as a way for the community of American Hammers to get together and either discuss the game, but more importantly, say, I'm going to be in Tampa next week. Where do I watch? Like, where's the local group? If I'm going to be in Denver, I'm going to be in Fresno. I'm going to be in, wherever it is.
Is that still going?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so what is it again? It's
American Hammers. I think that's it on Facebook.
On Facebook. I'm sorry. Yeah. Of course, I'm in that group. I thought you were.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, my mistake.
So I noticed something.
All American Hammers on Facebook. Yeah.
Because the Cincinnati Hammers logo and that logo were.
Yeah, right. So I made that one. And I was like,
so I figured you had something to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So Wayne from Dallas then, because he had the American Ironworks, I think it was. Do you guys?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually chatting away on the live chat.
There you go.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing, man?
Wayne and John from Vegas is also tuning in and saying, "Where the F is Sean?" And then Governor from New York City Hammers says, "Oi, Jake, we're not plastic supporters. Proper piss up, no IPA." So we got a bunch of people on right now. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
No, I mean, I think one of the good things about the New York City group is it really is a community. It really is a party. Win or lose, we're on the booze. That's kind of our unofficial slogan.
Oh yeah.
I think you have to be, but you can't have IPA. Well, I don't know. I'm not a big IPA drinker, really. But
you'd be tapped out before you make the third bar. Right.
Because plus it's so heavy, right? You just be like, wow. Yeah. But so what do you go? Well, okay. What do you drink? What do you drink at the pub? What's your go?
It kind of changes during the summer. I'll go, or towards the warmer months, I'll go for a lager. During the winter, I'll probably go for a Guinness, but it always depends.
Kyle in Fresno, they go to a brewery for them.
Yeah.
And
that would be bad news for us if we were.
Can you imagine? Can you? Oh man.
The brewery brews a West Ham beer called West Hamber Ale.
We need to get some of that shipped out to New York City. I haven't had it, but I've seen plenty of pictures.
Well, we're working on getting some here too. So
okay.
I'm sure he'll do it. He's a good dude. He'll hook us up. But do you guys ever have any? Do you have? Are there like any English bitters or real English?
The bar has a pretty big selection. There's ESB on tap. They do their own amber ale. They don't have any cask yet, but apart from that, they kind of have anything you would want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask. Hold on. Let me ask real quick.
Take your time.
For all the other supporters groups out there, especially people who are watching this that don't have a supporters group yet, or thinking about starting one, they go to a bar with a few other guys, but no one's really taking the lead or whatnot. Yeah. What advice do you have to not just the groups that haven't started yet, but would like to get them started, but what about the groups that are existing to maybe grow? What advice do you have to these groups, supporters groups?
To start one, I think all you got to do is just take the plunge and start it. It takes no more effort than, like I said, creating a Facebook page and Instagram, Twitter even, and then that way you can expand your audience just to catch the few people that might not know you're there, but watching a bar on the other side of town or something. That's what I did in Cincinnati. I just created the page, and since Cincinnati was never big numbers, but I think creating the page created a platform on which people could either join us when they're in town or come to us not knowing we were there. I think growing's a little tough, I guess. The same thing is just keeping at that and engaging the community, I think. Whether it's online or in person. In person, I think it's a little bit easier because you can see a guy wearing a West Ham scarf sitting at the end of the bar, not talking to anybody, Billy No Mates, and you just go up to him and say, hey, come watch with us, or we watch down here. If you want to come watch with us, then we'd love to have you.
Now, have you seen that in New York City? Have you seen random people with West Ham shirts on or scarves? And
yeah, absolutely. There's sometimes I work in the Empire State Building. I bartend, and I'll get tourists in every now and then. And if they're English, I always have to ask, where you're from. Do you follow football? Who do you follow? And then if they happen to be a West Ham fan, I invite them out. Come join us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's got to be the right. I mean, the thing is, the thing I like about supporting West Ham is that it's going to be the right type of person who supports West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who has, who does it for the love of the club and the love of the sport.
Yeah.
Not a glory hunter, because
we did this thing at the end of, I think it was last season. NBC shot a pilot with us at Smithfield. And the idea behind it was they bring in a guy that is interested in either football or the Premier League, but doesn't have a team yet. And then he hung out with the Manchester United fans as they watched their match, and then he hung out with us as we watched our match. And it was kind of a weird experience because they'd bring him over and they'd interview him and be like, oh, why should you be a West Ham fan? And, you can't do much more than explain the basics. But I don't think we ever beg people to join our group. I don't think that's the West Ham way. But, yeah, we always just try to be a good group of people. Be a good laugh, be fun, not take ourselves too serious.
That seems to be the consensus, amongst the other groups, from what we've heard from them, is that they're just a good group of people.
Yeah,
first and foremost,
Yeah.
A lot of
when I got into West Ham, it was never the sport itself. I never really cared for football beforehand, but it was definitely, the community, the camaraderie around it, atmosphere, all that kind of thing. That was so different than what I would experience in America, and I think that's just the same thing we try to recreate here is, a good atmosphere, good community.
Can we see the episode air on NBC Sports?
It didn't. I've been trying to reach out to one of the producers just to see if he has the footage for our own sake, but I don't think he'd be able to release it to us.
Could you hook us up with him so we could try to?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you his email right after this.
That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah. Try to promote ourselves in any way we can. It's funny you talk about being the best group of supporters. I think that's true everywhere you go with West Ham. Yeah. I've mentioned this before. I've got a couple of friends at work who are Liverpool. Actually, Tim, so is George. You remember George, our buddy George? He lives here in Chelmsford. Liverpool supporters, from what I understand, are just generally miserable people. They're never happy. And my buddy at work talks about this. He's on the message boards. He's very connected with them. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, and here they are, extremely successful. They've won all these trophies. And I know they haven't won the league in a long time, but they're far more successful than we are historically. Yeah. And yet they just complain and moan about everything all the time, and they're never happy. And, my feeling is that part of being West Ham is that you just have to laugh at yourself. You have to laugh at circumstances around the club that are always bizarre things that are always happening.
Yeah.
And you have to enjoy it. And, you know, it ends up being a lot more fun, even though we don't have the success everybody else has, or some of the big clubs have. It ends up being more fun because we have a better attitude. And we have a better.
Have you interacted with other away supporters? I mean, has any away supporters come to the bar to watch a match at the Smithfield? Or, I mean, besides Man United supporters, have you actually interacted with other supporters besides Man United?
So one of the cool things about New York is that obviously it's a big city. Each group kind of has their own bar. So you don't bump into too many of the other groups. Every now and then a place like Smithfield, or there's a place called Legends, where a lot of groups meet, and they kind of advertise it as a generic football bar, not one associated directly with one supporters group. But every now and then at Smithfield we get, you know, like for the Newcastle match, there was a table of 4 Newcastle fans. And, you know, we kind of sing at them and abuse them a little bit, but nothing too harsh given the circumstances, you know.
Right, right. Well, brave of them to come out if there's 4 of them, right? I mean, you have to give them credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. So, do we have to talk about Cardiff, or should we just skip it altogether?
There's not much to talk about, I don't think.
No, it's I don't listen. The only thing I don't know what's going to happen next. Honestly, obviously at home we should be better than Huddersfield.
They'll win because they lost the last match. They're inconsistent, so like they won't lose 2 in a row now. Especially against, and the way the home form's been, I mean, they'll win the next 2 matches, and then they'll get destroyed at home. I mean, I'm sorry, destroyed on the road.
I kind of think they will too. I think they'll beat Huddersfield. I think they'll beat Everton too. I do
easily.
Yeah.
You know, I also thought they'd win.
Well, I thought on paper we were far better than Cardiff, but if you remember the conversation we had with Kyle on Thursday night, he kind of saw this coming, and you know, we all agreed that it would be a very West Ham match to lose, and it was. I have a theory I'm going to advance. It's just about as good as my theory that the Premier League was trying to hand Manchester City the match against us with a dubious penalty. I don't think our players want to qualify for the Europa League. I don't think they want to go. I don't think they want to finish 7th and go to Moldova in August, you know, to play these Europa League qualifiers. I mean, listen, I don't think you can blame entirely Pellegrini for the way they played on Saturday, right?
No, I think he only gets a handful of the blame on team selection and all that kind of stuff. And anything else, I think, always falls on the players.
I mean, people keep saying it's time to put Arnautovic back up, start Arnautovic again up front, and maybe he didn't do anything when he came on. He didn't look any better than anybody else.
No,
if he doesn't want to be there anymore.
He's been really, really poor ever since the whole, you know.
But at the same time, you'd think if he does want to leave, you'd think he'd want to, you know, up his stock a bit and start performing near the end of the season.
Yeah.
You know, but I just don't know. My whole thing is that all these shows, like, you know, West Ham Fan TV that we watch, and Hammers Chat and Irons United and everybody else over there, we're all saying that West Ham sucks against physical teams. I mean, Cardiff is a physical team because they got nothing else. I mean, they're a hardworking team. They're extremely rough, and you know, people like Chicharito and Felipe and Lanzini, and you know, they crumble. You know, when there's someone's, you know, stronger than them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what ended up happening. I mean, I thought it was going to be a 5-1 smashing. I say 5-1 because I know Fabianski can't keep 2 clean sheets in a row.
Hey, but without him on Saturday, we give up like 5.
But it doesn't matter. We lost. You gave up 2. That's
I know
the 2 were what killed us. You know what I mean?
I understand that, but they're not. I mean, you can't.
You would have drawn if you saved those 2.
You
so don't tell me he just because he saved these other ones and didn't make it 5-0. A loss is a loss.
It is, but we had one shot on goal or 2 shots on goal.
I think it's tough. I mean,
Antonio put one that landed in my backyard.
Yeah. We were all right at the back, apart from giving up those 2 goals. And I do think those 2 goals fell heavily on the defenders. There were 4 or 5 players around standing watching that ball come in on the first goal.
Fredericks on the first goal held the attacker onside.
Yeah.
Issa should have probably handled that one. He didn't handle that one.
Yeah, those were tough goals. But regardless, you know, our play at the back was all right moving forward. But as soon as we got past the halfway point, we were just horrible. There was nothing. Collapsed each time. Chicharito, like you said, he just, he was almost non-existent. Yeah, it was a tough one. They definitely just never showed up, the whole team. They weren't there. It reminded me, when I was watching it reminded me of our first 4 games of the year when we were just all over the place.
The first 4 games of the year, and I think of Burnley, and I think of Burnley away, Bournemouth away was very much the same thing to me. It was the same scoreline. We lost 2-0 to Bournemouth. Better team, but we lost 2-0 to Bournemouth. There have been, to me, that was down in the bottom of the 5 worst performances we've had all season, and certainly since the first 4 games, I think it's the worst we've had since the Bournemouth loss, which was also really very similar, actually. I thought.
Yeah. The Wolves match was pathetic too, though.
Well, the Wolves match was, but you know what? You're right. Wolves are going to be in Europe, though, and I don't know. It bothers me the way we played against Wolves. It bothers me less that we lost, in a sense, because at least that's a decent side. Doing what we did against Cardiff is just. On the other hand, we talked about this. They lose their best player. They've had all this tragedy this season. This is the time when, if they're going to come together and save their season, this is going to be it. Yeah. They've got a good manager.
They have a horrible schedule ahead of them. After us, it's scary.
They had to win in a way we did not have to win.
Yeah.
We waltzed in there, and for once we had more expensive players and a bigger club, and we're having a better season, and we waltzed in there and just had no motivation, no inclination, I think, to win that game.
Clearly, West Ham performance, given all the situation. It's a very West Ham game to play. You go into it thinking you're going to win, like you said, 5-1, and then completely get turned over, or whatever. On paper, you're the better team, and then, or we're playing for 7th place, that cursed 7th spot.
I have faith that Pellegrini will figure something out to salvage the rest of the season. But anyway, there's a whole list of the live chat blew up as soon as Lee started talking about Europa. So, Gabe says hope Felipe Anderson's okay. Wayne says, Lee, you are so wrong. They want Europa. And by the way, Antonio's shot landed in North Dallas. And I think this is Cam from Tampa. Says inconsistency is the West Ham way.
Yeah. If they won Europa, there's no way they should have played like that on Saturday. There's absolutely no reason for them to go in with no motivation, no creativity, no precision. Pellegrini said, remember, he said all week, I have to convince my team that we have to play against Cardiff, that Cardiff have some quality, and that we have to actually go in and put up a fight, put up a match. He said that all week long.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. So I think he saw it coming. I'm not saying he got his tactics right, but I think.
Did you see him on the sideline, on the touchline? He was going bananas.
I know.
He was going berserk.
I think
the first 40 minutes of the game, 35 minutes of the game, he was going nuts.
I think he saw this coming. I think he warned us in the press. He said, I've been trying to tell my team they actually are going to have to go in and play this match, and then they didn't. Now, the problem is, seeing it coming is one thing, and doing something about it is another. A better manager has to rectify that before kickoff, right?
But Jay said that's up to the players, though.
No, I agree. I put 10% of the blame on him, maybe 20%. The rest of it goes on the players. And frankly, it goes on some of the guys we love, like Lanzini and Felipe Anderson. Only Declan Rice really, as far as the outfield players went, really put in all that great an effort. Yeah. Some of our better players, Fabianski was, I'm sorry, not Fabianski. Fredericks was awful. We had nothing in attack. Again, it's frustrating because I watch a game like that and it makes me think that these guys are just going to be comfortably mid-table for the rest of the season. And I hate the thought that, we had an opportunity to Wolves drew with Chelsea, Watford lost. We had an opportunity to make an actual move on 7th place, which I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but still we had an actual opportunity to make a move on being in Europe next season, and they didn't show up.
Yeah.
You lose a match like that to a relegation threatened club. You lose like 1-0 and it's a hard fought battle. That's one thing. Yeah. You lose 2-0 and it could have been 5 and they had no interest in you being there. It tells me, they don't care about, being in Europa. They don't want to go.
There's a lot of dead wood that needs to be gone.
Well,
at the end of the season. And
it's all up top, right? It's all the strikers. I mean, strikers are not easy to find, but we don't really even have, functionally, we don't have one.
There's got to be somebody that wants to be here because none of them want to be here.
Well,
there's got to be somebody.
You got to think that somebody.
Hey, we can have Jordan Hugel come back from loan, right?
Let me tell you something about Jordan Hugel. I loved him, not as a player. I loved him because he wanted to play for West Ham.
Yeah.
When we bought him, he was so excited. He was so excited to be at West Ham, and he was not good enough. Obviously not good enough.
No, but he's not. No. And you guys know I was joking, right?
I know, of course. But just take his attitude and implant that attitude into Marko Arnautovic, and the guy's a legend, you know.
Yeah.
It's just we just don't. You can't, for whatever reason, we don't get guys who love the club, want to be with the club, or it's rare. You know, if you could take the spirit of Mark Noble and sort of implanted it in the rest of our players, you wouldn't get performances like what you got on Saturday, I don't think.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, though. Don't they have somebody in the academy that can strike? And this is really a reason why I want to get Jack on, because I want him to tell us what they got going on in the academy right now, you know?
Well, Pedro Silva's, I don't know what his injury status is. I mean, he's been in the reserves.
I mean, as like a third or fourth striker next year. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? I don't mean, number one, but something. They got to have something down there. But
well, it has. I mean, playing the kids has actually not gone all that badly this season. You know, Diangana has had a couple of decent appearances, and
that's true.
And Johnson played really well against Manchester. Yeah. It's just one match, but against one of the best clubs in Europe. So, West Ham fans always say, "Play the kids, play the academy kids," and they go out there, they're garbage because they're just not ready yet. But it hasn't been that way this season. There's been, Declan Rice obviously is
I think that they've all been good.
They've all been good. So I'm with Tim. I mean, is it possible, especially now that we're hopefully fairly comfortable in mid-table? Yeah. Could we bring somebody out? Could we give somebody a run out in the last 15 minutes of a match? I mean, I'd like to see it. I always like to see that.
I'd like to see it too in a situation where we're winning 3-1 or we're down 2-0. Who cares at that point? You knew that we weren't coming back from Cardiff. It wasn't going to happen. You could see it in the first 20 minutes. You knew that.
Always see it. You can always see it with this team in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You can always see whether they're going to show up or not. And I don't know, why do we keep taking off Felipe Anderson? That's just something I don't totally understand. I'm not saying he was
that one was strange because he came off at the half, didn't he?
Yes, and I think Arnautovic went in for him at the half.
Yeah.
Why, when we're down at the half, are we taking off? I mean, obviously he wasn't playing well, but nobody was.
Injury?
Why are we taking off our most creative player?
Maybe hurt. Maybe he pulled something. I don't know. Anybody say anything about that?
It could be. It could be. I don't know.
There's no other explanation. I don't know. I can't think of anything else.
Snodgrass was having a horrible time. Generally I love him, but he was not doing well.
None of them really. We're putting
really get that. That's
more than two passes together. But so Jake, anything else you want to mention? Any shout outs you have, or
there's a concert coming up next week for Joe Hurley's Irish All Stars. I was told to give him a shout out by Frank. So
right on.
Told me to mention Joe Hurley.
Where's it going to be? You have any idea?
It's at City Winery, which is also in Midtown. I think it's a cheap thing to get into. It's all for charity, as far as I know. You may have to name the 1964 FA Cup winning squad to get in, but that is unconfirmed.
Squad, not the club, the squad, right?
The squad, yeah.
Ooh. We know one of them because he goes to the matches in Fresno.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's one of those kind of famous people that we'd love to get in New York City. We've had Dion Dublin's brother a few times. We've had Declan Rice's parents quite a few times as well.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. So we've had them
an hour into the show.
2 or 3 times. We've had them over.
Ian Bishop too, haven't we?
Lovely people. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ian Bishop too, right?
And we had Ian Bishop twice. He was over for a meet and greet we did. And a lovely guy. We went out with him drinking for as long as we could all stand. And then a few weeks later, the NBC thing was here in New York, and he was there for that. So we also met up with him then.
Yeah, he's living in the States. We're trying to get him on the show.
Yeah, he's in Florida. He's a lovely guy. I'm sure he would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
How old are Declan Rice's parents? Please tell me they're a little bit older than I am.
I assume so. I don't.
I mean, I'm 45, and he's
I think they're a bit older. I think they're a bit older.
Yeah, he's about 20 years old. They could easily be my age.
Yeah. They're lovely people, though. They're really nice. They came over. They brought us a signed shirt that Declan signed for us one time.
That's awesome.
We're still trying to get Declan over because he's been over once before, but it was obviously when the season wasn't happening. But it would have been nice to have a little appearance or a fundraiser of some sort.
Yeah.
That's brilliant that they've been, and they were just in New York hanging out.
Yeah, there's a group in the same kind of group that I've said we've met up with a few times. Jock from Hornchurch, Bill Gardner, the infamous Bill Gardner.
Bill Gardner's in your pub?
He comes over and hangs out with us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Get all those guys. And they know Declan's parents, and they said, all right, well, when you go over to Smithfield, they'll take care of you and all that. And,
what does Bill Gardner think of American West Ham fans?
oh, he seems over the top about it. Yeah.
Good, because I wouldn't want to be on that guy's wrong side.
No, of course not. But he's the nicest guy. He's the nicest guy you can imagine.
Is he?
Yeah. I'm gonna be going over in a few weeks for Chelsea away. I'm taking the boat from the east end to the west side. He's got my tickets, so I got to go get my tickets from BG.
That's awesome, man.
Tell him I've read his book. I love his book.
Yeah,
Lee,
I think he's working on a new one. So
awesome, good.
Anything else, Lee?
No, I think it's time we let your kid sleep in his own bed. Are you still doing the show in Max's bedroom?
No.
No.
This is the new spot.
Yeah, I upgraded. The attic studio now includes my flag in proper position behind me, so I got pretty good.
I decorated for you guys for the show.
I noticed. That's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
I love the framed jersey too. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got this from.
Who is that? Whose is that?
That's Ian Bishop.
That's Ian Bishop. Oh, nice.
That's
To
awesome.
the New York City Hammers, the pleasure was all mine. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So one of these days, Jake, we're gonna get down and watch a game with you.
We would love to. We all came up maybe 2 seasons ago. We came up and there was a concert that night that our boy Phil was playing in, the Templars, and we all, there was a good crew of us that went up and we went and watched West Ham in the morning and then went out drinking and then went to the concert. But we need to organize an East Coast meetup for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Absolutely. We got to do it before I start coaching my kids' team.
There you go.
At the end of April, so it might have to be pretty soon, but we'll see.
Okay, all right. We're always up for it. We've been talking about doing something recently, like either going to DC or Boston again. Just doing something to kind of change it up, take a train ride.
It's a great idea.
Right.
We're so close to New York, we should do it. But thank you.
Definitely. And I got to mention tonight's coffee sponsor.
Oh,
everybody knows that I drink coffee every single episode, and Strava Craft Coffee out of Denver, Colorado, was kind enough to send me a couple half pounds of their. This is the Peace and Wellness Restore Dark Roast with some CBD oil in it, which is awesome, and it's super delicious. And there's a link in the description just so you guys know to order the same exact coffee. If you order on their website, StravaCraftCoffee.com, your first order, you get 15% off. And I mean, this is gourmet stuff. They have everything from $15 a pound regular coffee to, the really fancy stuff at $55 a pound. So it's really good. And also check them out on social media because they put up some cool live videos of how to roast coffee, the best way to grind coffee, and little more details into their brews themselves. But this was absolute, the best cup of coffee I've had in a long time. So,
and how do you spell Strava?
Shout out to them. STRAVA coffee. I'm sorry, craft coffee. So Strava Craft Coffee, and there's a link in the description just so everybody knows. And also, I posted a picture on all of our social media with a link to go buy this same exact coffee.
If I drank coffee, I would love it.
Oh, you would, man. It's really
a huge coffee drinker. Most people are coffee drinkers, unlike me. So yeah, absolutely go and order some.
They have decaf, just like you know what I mean. This is what, 9 o'clock at night our time, and I'm still drinking coffee like I've been doing all day.
I trust Tim's.
But no, this is really cool, and it's great for anxiety too. Just pain relief and anxiety, and those vitamins and some of their coffees as well. But definitely check them out. But anyway, this
before you watch West Ham, if it's great for anxiety, drink it before the next West Ham.
Before and after, man. What are you saying?
After,
yeah. So, who are our next guests, Lee? Do you have any idea? Because I forgot.
I don't know. I don't remember the schedule.
I know we have Denver on Thursday, which is awesome.
Denver's on Thursday. Okay, good.
Denver's on Thursday for sure. It's a Mile High Hammers, man, and I'm super excited about that.
I think that's where the coffee comes from, Colorado.
It is Denver, Colorado. This is awesome.
There you go.
It was kind of cool. Who we got? That is Thursday. Yes, we got Denver on Thursday, and then next Sunday night, a week from today, we have Alamo City Hammers.
Oh, good old
San Antonio. That should be good.
One of my favorite. Beautiful city, San Antonio. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, between that, so just so everybody knows, we have Sunday nights and Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We do it live, and you can watch it throughout the week, whatever you want. We have tons and tons and tons of guests lined up. I'm telling you right now. We got Baltimore in the future, as well as Pittsburgh. We got, let's see here, Mile High, Alamo City, Myrtle Beach on the 21st, Pittsburgh on the 24th. Nothing tentative for the 28th, but we got Maryland on the 31st. And then next month we have, Knoxville, Chicago, Holy City, which is Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, it's filling up. And Jake, I can't thank you enough for stepping in last minute and joining us tonight.
Yeah, we really.
We'd like to have Sean come back and do one with us maybe in April or something. We have a few openings left.
Everybody's going to come back at some point. And we're also working on some other stuff. We're working on some new media, not just the videos here, potentially some other things. And we're working on some different kind of content. We love the hour-long episodes. We love doing them. We love the people watching. We're also working on some stuff that's not quite as long for people with shorter attention spans. And again, we'll be at the Premier League mornings in Boston on the 30th, but we'll be around before then to talk about that. So, and get yourself some Strava coffee. Go have yourself a cup, a nice cup.
I'll make sure I send cup. I'll make sure I have. I'll send you some, and I'm going to try to talk to them, see if maybe they could send a little bit to our guests and even our previous guests as well, so that Jake here doesn't miss out on this good stuff.
One of these days, we're going to go to New York. We're going to do a show with you, Jake, at the pub at Smithfield Hall. But Smithfield Hall down on 25th and would you say 25th and 6th, something like that?
Between 6th and 7th, I believe. I could be wrong, but on 25th Street, Smithfield Hall, NYC. Run that in, and it'll pop up. Yeah,
awesome.
All right, hang out, guys, for a minute as we get off. But come on, you Irons.
Yeah, come on, you Irons.